Well, good morning and welcome to Live from Currituck Extension. My name is Cameron Lowe. I'm the Currituck County Extension Director, which means that I lead the day-to-day operations of the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Center here in Currituck County. And I have the opportunity to oversee an amazing group of staff members that are doing an outstanding job in bringing you the research of the university to our local citizens here in Currituck County. So it's a great job to have. I'm excited about it, and I'm excited to be here with you today for our episode of Live from Currituck Extension. Now, today we're not talking about a real sexy topic, but it's a real needed topic right now, and that's managing your finances in tight times. Before we jump in, if you would, subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell to receive notifications if you want to know whenever we go live or whenever we post new video content. And we're constantly adding resources there for you on that YouTube channel. If you have questions during today's class and you'd like to have them answered live, you can use the live chat function on YouTube if that's where you're joining us from. Or if you're joining us on Facebook Live, you can simply comment beneath the video and I'll see those questions and have a chance to interact with you there. If you're watching the recording of today's class, you can always reach out to us via email or online on social media, and all those links are in the video description below. So by now we have probably all realized that this COVID-19 pandemic is going to have a significant financial impact. And whether that's on government budgets, your business income, or your personal finance, in one way or another, many of us will feel the financial repercussions of this crisis. So in today's session, we want to look at how to make wise financial decisions during the crisis, but more importantly, probably even beyond this. So I certainly don't have all the answers, but our extension partners at North Carolina A&T State University, the University of Minnesota, the University of Illinois, and even the University of Wisconsin-Madison Extension have put together some outstanding resources that I've found incredibly helpful. And I've linked to several of those resources in the video description, so I'd encourage you to take a look at those as well. For now, though, let's talk through some very practical tips to managing your finances during this difficult times. It's important to remember, I think, first of all, that complex strategies might not be sustainable. So what we're going to talk about today is going to keep it really simple. And I'd say before we even jump in, you have to start with being realistic and open about your situation. If it is your family finances that are suffering or having trouble, talk with your family. Getting out of trouble will require some sacrifice on everyone's part, and family members will be far more committed to helping if they know what's going on. So be open, be honest. If it's your business, small business perhaps that's hurting, being honest with your creditors, your investors, and even your employees is very important as well. Just like any problem, ignoring it does not make it go away. All right, so in order to keep things simple, I think we can really boil our strategy down into one overarching theme with three very simple steps. So let's take a look. Our overarching theme or our guiding principle would be to be disciplined. Just like any fitness routine or time management or work habits or diet, looking at managing your finances as a discipline is really key to success. All right, so that's our guiding principle. Our three simple steps: reduce your spending, plan your spending, and track your spending. So let's dive in and kind of take a look at those in a little bit more detail. First things first, if you're having tight times, you're having financial difficulties, your first step is that you have to stop the bleeding. And so that's what we mean by reduce spending. So if we look a little closer at that one, in order to reduce spending, here are a few tips. Number one, know how much cash you have on hand. This determines exactly what funds you have access to and how much you're going to have to reduce your spending over time. The easiest place to start reducing your spending is with those non-essential items. So think about things like vacations, subscription services, cable TV, eating out, entertainment, curbside trash pickup, those things that you don't absolutely have to have. Those are non-essentials, and that's the easiest place to start when you think about reducing spending. Another really kind of easy place to start is to take stock of what you already have. Think about your pantry, your freezer. It might be already well stocked and you've forgotten about some of those items in there. So you can cut back or reduce your spending at the grocery store and on takeout by utilizing what you already have and being creative with the contents of your own kitchen. Starts to get a little harder after that in order to reduce spending, but another tip is to shop smarter. So look for sales, purchase less convenience food. Think about, can you get away with generic products, or even in the case of business, are there less expensive suppliers you can use, or can you organize with partners to take better advantage of bulk buying or cost sharing? So even beyond that, it starts to get a little bit more difficult as well, but you can also look at your fixed cost. Are there things that you can renegotiate? Think about like your automobile insurance rates. Can you reduce your coverage to lower that cost temporarily since your car is being parked? Perhaps you've lost your job maybe, and you're not traveling as much. So if you can reduce that coverage, that may be an option for you as well. And then finally, and though it really isn't reducing your spending, but can you think outside the box and look for opportunities to increase your income? Perhaps that's selling items that are in good condition but aren't essential for you. Do you have the option to find part-time work? Do you have a special skill or talent that you could capitalize on? Our small area businesses are being really creative with this. There's a lot that are doing, our restaurants are doing obviously takeout, but some of them are even preparing in-home meal preparation kits. There are some businesses in the area that are providing services online instead of face-to-face as they used to be doing. But the bottom line is, can you make some kind of progress during all of this so that you come out better, or at least come out pretty good on the other side? And you may have to think creatively about that. In a recent webinar that I attended, hosted by North Carolina A&T State University, the presenter, Joel Wiggins, said he advised every attendee to give every dollar a name and give every dollar a purchase. And that illustrates really well our next step, which is to plan your spending. So first things first, you need to match your spending to your current income, or even ideally less than your current income. One note that he gave that I'll just throw out as kind of an extra, no charge for this one, but if you're a business owner, he advised to keep as much as you could to keep personal finances and business finances separate. And that way you limit your family's exposure to the rise or potential fall of your business. But moving on, to reduce plan your spending, list what you need to spend money on. Now, there is a great link in the video description to a resource called the Spending Plan Short Form. And I'll actually show that to you here, but this is a great way to list what you need to spend your money on. And the first page, which you see here, just in this first column, just asks you to think about your monthly income and list out your monthly income. And this this worksheet is very helpful because it lists out all the categories that we may not think of. So yes, you have your monthly income in terms of your salary, but perhaps you also benefit from governmental assistance or child support or things like that, workers' compensation, some of those types of things. So all those categories are listed there. So you want to fill in your monthly income thinking about all of those categories. We're going to ignore the second column for a second, because if you flip to the second page, that's where you're going to list your monthly expenses. And again, this worksheet is very helpful because it details out category by category those monthly expenses that we might not even think of. So for example, the categories, first you've got set aside funds or your savings. So if you're self-employed, you want to think about saving for income tax, FICA, and retirement for sure, something we might not always think about. Everybody should really think about saving for emergencies, education, non-emergency expenses, things that are not occurring monthly. So like your tax bills or your insurance bills, which don't necessarily come monthly. You want to break those out and write them down as a spending item as well. The next category is housing, and you'll see it lists out all the different things you're going to spend according to housing. Transportation is next, health, food cost, Payments and fees. If you owe credit card payments, loans, child support, things like that, those are monthly expenses. You need to list those out. Categories 11 and 12 are personal items, clothing, entertainment, those types of things. Category 12 is recreation and entertainment. And really 11 and 12 are those non-essential expenses that are probably the easiest to eliminate. But once you've filled out the second page, you can flip back and you can go to the second column on that first page. And that's where you list your monthly income summary. So from that first column on the first page, you list that in here. Your monthly expenses summary. So transfer your second page information over here. And then it makes it very simple to go back and subtract your expenses from your income. And that lets you know how much you can plan to spend and what you can plan to spend it on. So again, that's a very helpful worksheet, and it is listed in the video description below. So after you've gone through that worksheet, listed what you need to spend money on, and you have a better idea of how much you actually have to spend, you need to plan how to spend it. First things first, prioritize your bills. So generally, your most critical needs are going to be food, shelter, transportation, and medical care. And there are 3 simple questions you can ask yourself about all of your bills or all of your expenses. And they are these. Number 1, which of these expenses are critical to my family or my business's well-being? Number 2, which expenses have the highest priority? And number 3, where or from what category can I reduce my spending? Think about it. Can you refinance a loan? Can you negotiate with a creditor? Can you sell your newer automobile for something a little bit cheaper and less expensive? Next, in terms of planning your spending, is resist the urge to take on more debt. If at all possible, and I recognize that everybody's situation is different and it may not be possible for you, but if at all possible, resist the urge to use that credit card to cover bills. That is only going to add to your debt and therefore add to the stress that you already have. Finally, know what resources are available to you as an individual or as a business in terms of COVID-19 relief. So will you be receiving stimulus money? Plan for how you're going to use that money wisely. Is that going to help you pay some of your existing bills, or perhaps you're fine right now? Think about saving that for the future to cover emergencies that may arise as a result of this situation. Can you apply for unemployment if that becomes necessary? Is your business eligible for government assistance? The Chamber of Commerce here in Currituck has some outstanding resources to help you explore your options, or they can put you in contact with the right people. Families. If your children were receiving free or reduced lunch, you are eligible for pandemic electronic benefits. And that's just something that provides that benefit on an EBT card to North Carolina families whose children have access to free and reduced lunch at school. And our local school system will have more information on those types of things. Speaking of our local school system, our school system here in Currituck is providing free meals to all children, regardless of status, up to age 18 each and every weekday at different locations throughout the county. Further, there's a text situation set up. You can text food NC to 877-877 and receive a text with drive-through or pickup sites with meals for children closest to your location. So remember, if you've got any questions, if you've got any comments, tips that you want to add, put those in the chat box or the comment box, and I'd be happy to share those, discuss those, and whatnot. All right, the last step is probably the most beneficial in maintaining your discipline over the long haul. And you might find it tedious, but if you really need to protect your finances, do not neglect this discipline. Tracking your spending means writing down and keeping track of any money that you spend. So what's that look like? Well, first, account for every dollar. So you want to keep your receipts, you want to log your receipts, you want to log your cash purchases. Now you use what works best for you to do that. You can use a paper journal, a spreadsheet, or one of very many apps that are available to help you with that process. And then, of course, you subtract that money that you spend from the money that you have available on a monthly basis. So you remember that worksheet we looked at earlier, that planning worksheet. You know how much money you have available, subtract what you spend out of that. And that ensures that you don't spend more than you have, which is really the bottom line, period. Don't spend more than you have. Monitoring what you spend helps you control your spending and live within the income that you have available. As your income adjusts, the good news is that as your income adjusts, you can adjust your spending plan accordingly. So if you receive more income, then you can adjust your plan to spend or save a little more. If you have to cut back, then you know where you have to cut back, and you utilize your options to do that. We do have a question in the chat box, and that is, do you have any resources for grocery shopping on a budget or ways to eat cheap? We do have a lot of resources for grocery shopping on a budget. Actually, if you dig down in our YouTube archives, we've done a video on how to shop within a budget and how to compare prices and different things like that. So there's an excellent resource there. And then Olivia Jones and Sheila Gregory with our Family and Consumer Sciences Department have lots of budget-friendly recipes that I'm sure they'll be sharing out over the next several weeks. So thank you for that question. All right. If anybody's got any other questions, I'll certainly entertain those. Just slide them there in the chat box. But to wrap things up, let me just simplify and recap kind of what we've talked about. And first things first, like I said, overall, our goal here is to be disciplined with our finances. And then remember those 3 simple steps. And that is reduce your spending to match your income. Plan your spending to cover your critical needs first and not exceed your income. And don't forget to save where possible. And finally, track your spending to keep yourself in check over the longer term. So that is just about it for today's episode of Live from Curry Tech Extension. Unless you have further questions, I'll be happy to answer those now. If not, make sure that you take a moment, and there's an evaluation link down in the video description. If you wouldn't mind, go to that evaluation and fill that out for us. It's going to help us shape the content that we provide for you and the format that comes in. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We provide excellent content every day of the week, and then some other pre-recorded videos as well. So if you don't want to miss those, make sure you subscribe and click the bell for notifications. As I said before, links from today's class and to our social media are in the description below. And don't forget to join us tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a really fun time for you and your children. Tomorrow's class is called a Cricket Wicket Engineering Challenge, and that's going to be led by our 4-H agent, Sherry Fischelschweiger. So don't forget to tune in at 11:30 tomorrow, and we'll see you then.